FIghtHype.com here with Hall of Famer Tim Bradley. Tim, first of all, I would like to say once again, congratulations on the Hall of Fame. Definitely earned and well deserved. But having said that, I just wanted to touch on basically the current state of boxing. I know you've got your YouTube channel and you put your opinions out there, and obviously on ESPN doing your commentating, you express your opinion. Some people think it's controversial, some people enjoy it, but just having heard some of the things you've said, I just kind of want to get your take on the current state of boxing compared to where it was at when you were fighting. I mean, obviously we've got Riyadh season now. The whole Ring magazine, I think they're starting to put on fights. It's a different market out there right now. So I was just wondering, do you see it as a good thing, as a bad thing? What are your thoughts?
Ben, first of all, I think that boxing in America in general is dying. There's multiple reasons why the sport is actually dying. Multiple people that you can blame. You can blame the fighters themselves for not wanting to participate in major fights. You can blame the promoters for not being able to negotiate amongst each other to be able to make fights, the fights that fans want to see. HBO, they closed shop. Showtime closed shop shortly afterwards. And now, ESPN, we don't know within 6 months that, if they're going to be showing boxing anymore. We have no clue. It's a shame. It really is. Like I said, I think the fighters and the promoters, everyone involved has done it to themselves. It actually sucks. I think the sport, we haven't had a heavyweight, U.S. heavyweight champion. I think that's a big issue because I always say that in boxing, I always say that, having a heavyweight division is extremely important. I mean, it's the heartbeat of the sport. We don't have a great American heavyweight. We haven't had it in some time now. It's been a while. The Europeans, Eastern Europeans have dominated that division. And I mean, it stems from, NFL, NBA, all those guys are choosing that sport over boxing, and it's understandable. However, that's the pulse of the sport. And for any country, that's the pulse. So boxing is slowly dwindling away here in the States, man. It's sad to see. Now you have Riyadh season. A lot of people, they enjoy the cards there. They're putting on cards to where you can have multiple. They can start here in America now and be a headliner, on these cards if there were cards here in America. However, they're all on the Riyadh season card in Saudi Arabia. And I have mixed feelings about that. There's some good and there's some bad to go along with it.
Let's just kind of talk about some of the good and the bad. I mean, I know obviously fighters are getting paid, right? Like Turkey and the whole Riyadh season, they've focused on the best versus the best, and obviously with that comes high demands, and they can fulfill those demands because they have the money to pump into it. I mean, I think most people would probably agree that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is a good thing. It's a good thing because I think Riyadh season is taking care of the actual diehard fans. The diehard fans have been paying a high premium as far as pay-per-view goes, although a lot of them do still the stream. However, at least someone is looking out for them, giving them great fight cards and making great matchups and so on and so forth. But I want to go back. Let me go back to that first question about how I feel about the sport and boxing here in America and why I feel it's dying, and then I'll get back into that. I'm like what I come from, right? And looking and raised up on boxing, like we had multiple stars. Even when I was involved in boxing, we had multiple stars in the game. We had Floyd Mayweather, huge draw. Manny Pacquiao, huge draw. De La Hoya, huge draw. We had various guys in the sport that were huge draws, sell out arenas, like I'm talking about those fights that, like, when they fight, when these fighters get in the ring, like, time stops, like everybody's watching, like the whole town shuts down. That type of level of fame. That type of level of a commitment from not only the boxing fans but the casual fans. Who is that guy? Who is that? Who is that guy here in America? I'm asking you a question, man. Who is that guy?
Well,
You know,
I think most people watching this will probably say it's Tank.
Okay. All right. So we're saying Tank, all right, appealing, casual guy, but is Tank fighting the best opposition out there? See, that's the difference. The difference between, the Floyds and the De La Hoyas, they fought the best opposition. So Tank gets in the ring. Yes, he's a figment of our imagination. We want to see him knock out somebody. However, he's highly favored in every fight that he has, because he doesn't fight the best competition. Now, that's by his choice. All right. So he does it for a different reason. Whereas you had these other fighters that came before us, they did it because of legacy. It was a different way of thinking. Another guy that we can say that, everybody always want to tune in and watch, the mostly casuals, and he comes with a different fan base, is Jake Paul. Jake Paul. I mean, look what they did with him and Tyson on Netflix. Over 60 million homes. That's what we have to look forward to, man. That is like our American, I don't want to say hero, but that's what all the people are attracted to nowadays. So, like, boxing, although boxing is again, I believe that it's slowly dwindling and dying. And the networks not being involved is an example of that.
But don't you think that might have more to do with the fighters themselves, right? I mean, like, you look at Tank, you look at Jake Paul, we can say they're America's biggest boxing stars right now. I mean, obviously I'm not, including Canelo, because Canelo, is Mexican. But isn't it more on the fighters themselves to become bigger stars? I mean, Ryan Garcia has a big following, but he's not necessarily doing the type of pay-per-view buys that Tank is doing, unless he's fighting a Tank.
No, but Tank is doing decent in the pay-per-view revenue. I mean, you got Canelo Alvarez who comes here and he sells a lot more than he sells more than anybody as far as the pay-per-view goes.
For sure.
So but second Tank is the next guy up, but it's still not, astronomical. Those numbers are still not like, wow, over the top. And of course people steal the streaming service as well. So you have to deal with piracy as well. However, he only fights once a year, if that, maybe twice. I don't, you know what I mean? Depending on what year it is. Mm-hmm. So it's not often, and that's an issue as well in itself, because we need somebody to drive the sport here. Somebody that, that's going to attract those casuals more often than just once or twice a year, man. We need to have multiple entities to be able to keep this sport alive here. And again, not having a heavyweight, because that's what attracts people, those big old guys beating the hell out of each other. We don't have a heavyweight, man. And we haven't had one in a very long time. And, Jared Anderson was supposed to be that guy. However, he has a different reason. Jared also has a different reason of fighting. He comes for that cloth of, I just want the money. The same with Tank. This generation is just, that's the way they think. I don't care about championships. I don't care about this. All I care about is just making a better living for my family. And that's it. And I think that actually is hurting boxing as well. The mindsets of this new generation of boxing.
But how does this new generation become the type of stars that boxing needs? I mean, I'll just give you a perfect example. Terence Crawford obviously was with Top Rank for a very, very long time. And as a promotional company, it's kind of their job to help promote the fighter and make them a bigger star. Terence got to the point where, he left them, had the Errol Spence fight, did good numbers with that. I can't remember exactly how many they did, 5, 6, 7 or something like that.
Over 500. I know that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's good numbers. But then after that, was he really able to capitalize on that moment? Like is Terence Crawford the type of star in America that can do good pay-per-view numbers no matter who he fights? I don't know how many buys the Madrimov fight did, but I definitely don't think it did the type of numbers that the Spence fight did.
No, I mean, look, Crawford's going to appeal to the diehard fans. Crawford doesn't appeal. I feel doesn't appeal to the casual fans. You got to have it's a certain personality one. You got to have a certain personality to. It's not a formula that you can just make up and say, oh, if you do this, if you do this, and you do this, then you can be a star. No, you just got to have that it factor. That's just something that either you're born with. You're charismatic. I mean, you look at Ali, you look at Mayweather, because Mayweather, when he came up, you know what I mean? A lot of people weren't too fond of his style. A lot of people were saying that he was boring. However, as soon as he turns into this villain, and he's talking and he's flashy and, he's believing himself, and then he's backing it up inside that ring and he's fighting against the best guys and he's beating them. That's when people started to believe. Now, right after he fought against, I think it was Asa De La Hoya, is when Mayweather really took off, because he fought against, a legendary fighter that everybody knew, and he beat him, and then it just went all uphill from there. So, I mean, look, I feel that, like, there's no formula for it. However, let's talk about a Crawford. We're talking about a Crawford. Crawford has the skills. He produces knockouts. That's a couple of things that right there that I feel that that you need to have, you being a fighter. However, how can you relate to people, that don't watch this on a regular basis? How can you attract them? That's what's missing. And if you're not willing to do all of the, let's say, interviews, and, you're not willing to really, promote yourself in that way, then, that's what's going to happen. No one's going to care. No one's going to know about you. And I think that could have been, I think that was an issue when he was with Top Rank. However, now he's promoting himself more than ever, that Spence fight, I think that was the most promotion I've ever seen, Crawford doing his entire career. And you can see the difference in the numbers,
right?
When you're doing interviews, and you're even doing interviews with people that you don't even like. I've said things about you, you know what I mean? Because for me, it's like bad publicity is good publicity in a way, because there's people people like drama, right? And people want to hear from different perspectives. And if there's a person, a guy out there that feels, or a woman out there that's writing about you in a negative way, they're going to read it, because they want to know why they want to know why you feel that way about this particular fighter. So, that's where I come from, man. I did all of my interviews. I wasn't a big draw either. I wasn't a big puncher. I didn't have that arsenal that Crawford has, and I wasn't a huge talker either. But if I can go back in time and change it, I would, man. You got to definitely sell yourself if you want to be known in the sport. But we don't have a whole lot of guys out there that are like that in the sport today.
Tim, I don't know if a lot of fighters really want to be stars. I mean, I feel like a lot of fighters, obviously we're in this game to make money. This is their job. And back in the day, like, you had to become a star in order to make the kind of money that they make now, right? Like, you had to beat the man who was the man and become that star, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have to do that today, though. There's so much money infused in the sport now, and the fighters, they get paid pretty good. So having said that, do the fighters even want to become stars? I mean, if you don't want to become a star, then what's the point of putting in the extra work if you're already getting paid?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because that's what I see with this Riyadh season, right? Like, who's the biggest star that they have to be able to? I mean, now they have Canelo Alvarez, and he's supposed to be fighting against Terence Crawford, but that's the biggest star that they have, on their roster, under contract. From what I've read. Okay, from what I've read. However, they're putting on great fights, great competitive fights, for the diehard fans, but who is the star that draw the casuals? Who is it? You know, and that's what's missing one in boxing. We're getting guys that usually hold their own or have been holding their own. Now they got to fight somebody. Like, that's a great thing about Riyadh season. Like, they put on the best competitive fights. That's an excellent thing. You know, the fact that all the promoters have to basically lend their fighters, so they're all coming together, you know, with certain fights. So I think that's cool. I think that's great with Riyadh season, kind of bridging that gap. Yes, the promoters are getting paid to lend out their fighters. However, a lot of these guys are not stars yet, man. A lot of these guys are not guys that are going to move the sport and move that needle, bro. And, you know, as these shows continue to happen, this is where the cons come in. It's just like, you don't have a real star. What do you really have, man? You know, what's going for me? It's like, what's really going to save boxing? We need stars in the game. Yes, we need the competition to happen, but the only way you can do that is these guys got to continue to be promoted. They got to be promoted, and they need to be shown on a channel where there's a lot of eyeballs on. You know, I wish it went back to the ABC days. You know, to where boxing was just seen, you know, on regular channel cable, on regular cable. You know, I wish it was back into those days. However, it's not like that. And you got to have a streaming service. You got to have this and that. So it's really hard to really build a star in this day and age in boxing. However, I know it can be done, man. But as these cars continue to be made over in Riyadh season, I'm hoping and praying that a star is generated from these particular fights and showdowns that's going on that card.
Do you think, you know, with some of the cards being over there, take someone like Shakur Stevenson, right? Like Shakur Stevenson, you know, for all intents and purposes, was going to be, you know, our next American star or one of the next American stars. His next fight with Kid Austin, Floyd Schofield, I think it's like, don't quote me on this, I'm not 100% sure, but I know it. Obviously, it's not the main event. It's not the co-main event. I don't think it's the third or I think it might be the fifth fight on the card. Going from, you know, when he was fighting here in America, being the main event on some top rank cards, to now being the fourth or fifth fight down, is that going to hurt his chances to become a bigger star here in America?
How many people is on the zone? How many subscribers? What they got, about what, 25 million or so?
So. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, 25. How many of those are really diehard boxing fans?
That I'm not sure about.
Maybe about 300 and some thousand of them, if that. You know, I don't know that number. However, look, when you're on ESPN and you're on linear, you know, it's hitting millions and millions of homes. Even if you're on Plus on ESPN, it's hitting millions and millions of subscribers, a lot more than the zone itself, you know. So you're saying that Shakur was on ESPN, still couldn't become a star. You think he's going to become a star on the zone? I don't think so. I personally don't think so at all. Just the numbers don't make any sense. However, he's getting paid a lot better being on the zone and being a part of Riyadh season. And then this is where it gets interesting for me. I don't care, and I'm not knocking any of these guys for making their money. I think it's fantastic. I think it's, in my eyes, I think it's highway robbery. You know, a lot of these guys, and I'm not going to say names, are not even worth the amount of money that they're actually getting paid. They're just not. You know,
when you say worth, are you talking about like generating money, like putting cheeks in seats, as they say?
I'm talking about putting butts in seats, because a lot of those matches are happening over in Saudi Arabia. Okay, a lot of those matches are happening. Riyadh season is happening in Saudi Arabia. They're not happening here in the States. So the fans, or the diehard boxing fans, they have a subscription with the zone. Well, you think the casuals are going to buy the zone just to watch those fights? No, they're not. You know, these guys, again, they don't have a whole lot of stars. Canelo Alvarez, they going to watch that. They're going to watch Terence Crawford. Now, here it might be here in the States as well. However, that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that over time, as these fights continue to be made, if Riyadh season decides to say, "Oh, we done. Maybe a year, maybe 2, maybe 3 years. I don't know how long it's gonna last." You got all these fighters that have been getting paid a ton of money that's been in the game a very long time and getting paid a ton of money. Now, what happens with the other promoters here in America, if they stay alive because of what's going on in Riyadh season, if they stay alive, what's going to happen to them? You think fighters are going to come back and be like, "Oh, well, yeah, I'll make this amount of money for, this particular fight," when they're getting paid a ton of money for a particular fight, right? It's going to be hard to be able to even be a promoter here in America, especially with Riyadh season, how much money they're paying, Is it their fault? No, it's the fact that the Saudis have a lot of money, to be able to pay these fighters and put on these type of events. But again, I just worry about what happens if they leave the game. See, that's the cons that I'm talking about. It's like, I'm worried, because how is boxing going to become? I think boxing is going to become worse then, because we got a lot of overpaid athletes that are going to come from that, and they're going to think that's real, and it really isn't. It's real right now, but later it's not going to be real, because there's a possibility they can get out the game, and then you come back to reality, and now you're not happy with what's going on as far as the money, the compensation for you to step in the ring and face this guy or that guy or this guy. So that's the issue. That's the issue. One of the issues that I have with what's going on as far as Riyadh season goes. It's excellent for the fighters. It's excellent for the fans. However, is it great for boxing? I think in the long run, I don't think it is. I don't think it's great for boxing.
You talked about the expectations, that fighters are going to have once they are getting these inflated purses and whatnot. Is that going to, how can I put this? Is that going to impact a fighter's career long term? And I only say that just because I know there's been, some fighters, like for perfect example, Jared Anderson, right? Mm-hmm. Jared Anderson got paid a purse that I don't think anyone would turn down. I definitely wouldn't turn it down if it was his highest payday. But a lot of people would argue it was a little too soon for that particular fight with Martin Bakole. And we saw the outcome. Could that be an issue if, let's say Riyadh season says, "You know what, we want you to fight this guy. Here's the money." And obviously the fighter can't turn it down, because where else are they going to get that kind of money? But now they're in a situation where they take a fight maybe before they were really ready to.
Yeah, and that's bound to happen. And that's bound to happen. And then on top of that, then you have other guys that actually want to leave their promotional company and cause a big uproar, because they're seeing what everybody else is making over at Riyadh season. Now the promoter has to make a choice on to either lend them out or go to court or whatever. I mean, I get the promoters are making money when they leaving them out there. I mean, they get paid a percentage of the purse. I don't know what the percentage is. It got to be anywhere from 10 to 30% that they're getting paid to be able to have that fighter. But again, that's just it. Big fights are going to be just on the Riyadh season card, and big fights won't be on, here in America. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be over there. They're not going to be here in America, where, boxing should be alive here in America, and fans should be able to come in, and promoters should be able to have a huge event, with big sponsors and fill the seats and being able to create stars. Jared Anderson was supposed to, as an example, was supposed to be the next great American heavyweight. He has the ability. He has the talent, different mindset, however, again, different mindset, but he had it. But the money is what influenced him to take the risk, because ultimately that's what they know. Riyadh season know that these guys are moved by money. Listen to me, man. Most sports in general, I think the entire United States worship money over everything. Money is like the biggest priority here in the United States. Well, you don't think that they know? Of course. Riyadh season is not just boxing. Riyadh season has golf. Riyadh season has tennis. Riyadh season has soccer. You know what I'm saying? And they're paying them a ton of money to be able to go there and to play in front of their people. And so I think about all of this, man. I think about all this. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't know. This is just me being me and keeping the 100. Us as citizens, us as America, we import everything. Everything is imported. If everything is, there's not a whole lot of businesses here in America, corporations that are just made here. No, we outsource everything. We ship it in, and they pay this to get it in time. Get it into the business, and then they put it together, and then they sell it to us. That's how it goes, right? So, but the thing that we do have is sports, NFL, NBA, boxing, America, man. I understand that boxing, Queensberry rules and all that started overseas. I get all of that. However, I'm just talking about boxing here in America. There was one point where it was big. Everybody wanted to come to America. Manny Pacquiao, this is his second home here in America from the Philippines. Everybody here in America loved Manny Pacquiao. That's what I'm saying. But now I just feel like if we import everything, we have our sports here. What do we have to say that it's our own? So that's attached to my feelings as far as what's going on. But it's even deeper than that, Ben. It's even deeper than that, because everybody's saying that they saving boxing. They putting on great events, great fights. That's great. But are you really, truly, really saving boxing? When you put a microscope on it, I don't. You're only feeding the 1%. The 1%. That's what's going on here, right? Everybody's always saying the rich is getting richer, the poor is staying poor. Well, it's a similar thing here. Over there, when you fighting on that card, the rich is getting rich, and they're gonna continue to get rich. Is they really helping the sport? What about the other 99%? That's the difference. So when you see cards and you see fights on the undercards on these big shows, guess who's eating? The other 99% is eating too in sport. Not just the top guys. The 99% in the sport is eating as well. So for me, like let me prime example, Pro Box TV. For me, and I'm not saying this to kiss nobody's ass. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I'm not working for Pro Box. All right. What I'm saying is that that's given to the 99%. The guys that get kind of railroaded because they maybe made some mistakes or got beaten, manager turned on them, or promotional company was like, all right, hey, we cut our ties. Great job. You didn't take care of your business. You didn't take care of your business this fight. You lost these fights. All right. But Pro Box gives you the opportunity to bounce back. Yeah, you fight on tough. You get matched tough. However, you can bounce back. For me, that's doing something. That's doing something for at least the rest of the 99%. So in my mind, I'm saying, that's a good thing. That's a great thing. We had the young Kai Leo, get a shot at the world championship. Yeah. He knocked out Lopez and got a shot at the world championship. Build himself back up when nobody was believed in him. So to me, that's special. I like that aspect, But however, let me go a little bit more deeper. You you're supposed to be helping boxing, making it better again. All right, we got the fights. That's one aspect. We get in the fights. You're bridging the gap between the promoters. That's one aspect. I get it. But we got other issues in the sport that are just even more extensive that needs to change. You know, we don't have no governing body governing the sport at all. You know, it's a free for all. That's the reason why we can have the Jake Pauls come in. You know, that's the reason why we can have the Riyadh come in anytime you want. You know, shoot, PBC is here. You got Top Rank is still here. You know, but the rest of the other promoters are now joining forces with Turkey Al-Sheikh. You know, I've heard some crazy things, man. Some of these guys have said, I've heard some crazy things. I'm not going to repeat them. However, that money, right? The money is what makes the difference, makes all the difference from these folks, man. You know, and it's understandable, but at the same time, it's like it's not understandable from my aspect, man. You know, I get it, but I would love to see Riyadh season to help if they really want to change the sport, to help with some sort of governing body surrounding the entire sport to where we're all under one umbrella. I would love to see that, man. You know, they have the funds. If you're spending $200 million to make a fight, damn it, I know you got the funds to help us in that area, you know, to where we can build a big ass umbrella for all the promotional companies to be almost like the NBA has in the NFL as well. You know, help us build that. You know, what about health insurance for the fighters? What about even life insurance? Help us get life insurance. What about maybe I don't want to call it a union because everybody hates that word, but we need something to where the fighters are protected.
Association.
A fighters association, you know, to help us be able to retire with some money, you know, maybe pull some money from our purses and put it away and put it in this account or that account. You know, we need that type of assistance because a lot of fighters, man, we're not educated, man. You know, everything that I've learned and I've done in my career, I've had to figure that out on my own. You know, little by little, I had to figure that out on my own. However, there's not a lot of people out there like myself that need help and they don't know where to get it. But these fighters, I see all these older fighters now, you know, that are either punch drunk, CTE, you know, doing real bad. Nobody cares. No one cares, man. Let's start a foundation for them, you know, to be able to help the olders. Because guess what? We're going to have younger ones that are going to be coming in that are looking at us now that want to fight professionally. You know, they need to have, you know, we need to put them or give them some sort of advance on what's going on in the sport, you know, schooling, if that, you know, financial information for all these athletes, man. Just something, man. There's so much more that we can add than just making the best fights. And that's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying. There's so much more than just making the biggest fights in the sport, man, that we need to really pay attention to. What about the drug testing? What about that? You know, a lot of these guys are out here cheating, man. They using performance enhancing drugs. We need a system set, but it all takes money. But you know who do got the money? If they're willing, again, to spend $200-300 million on one particular fight, it's Riyadh season.
Do you think that Riyadh season or even you know, Ring Magazine, it sounds like Ring Magazine, you know, now that they've purchased Ring Magazine, and they're going to start putting on fights. I know they've got this fight coming up in May. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to frame it, but do you think there's a possibility where maybe that is the goal moving forward, is to basically create some type of organization like the NFL, like the NBA, where promoters are treated more like team owners and the fighters are like, the players on the team. And now we've got this structure. And I'm bringing this up because I think I read something about a boxing league or something that somebody was considering creating, hooking up with Dana White or something like that. Is that possible to bring all these promoters together under one umbrella and then start instituting some of the things that you brought up, like the drug testing under one umbrella,
pension,
pensions,
insurance, starting a foundation for the retired, the legends in the sport. Yeah. The ones that lost loved ones in doing the sport, the wives that are left with, their child and no income, you know what I mean? If $3,000, $2,000, $1,000 is better than nothing, we can help out in that way. But yeah, I think what I've been hearing as far as that league goes, yes, I think that's a way to try to get all these promoters together. I'm hoping that's the formula that they're going to try to do and implement, and try to get these promoters to all follow suit, man. It's extremely important. It really is. I think that this game needs to be transformed, into something better. I really do, man. And Riyadh season have the money and to be able to do it. Now as far as they got to bring the right people, not gonna lie, they got to have the right people to be able to help and implement this structure. I wouldn't mind being one of those guys if they interested, man. I wouldn't mind being one of those guys, because I feel that, I've been in this game a very long time. I've seen both sides of things. They just got to be willing to, again, have the right people to be able to establish certain things and implement certain things. And if they do that, then yeah, that I'm all for it. I'm all for having a boxing league or even a governing body to where all the promoters are together. They have their own stable. However, they all working together to make the sport better. And we're getting the great prize fights, the right amount of money in building the sport of boxing, just not in one general area, though. I'm talking about worldwide, not just one general area, worldwide. Yes.
Tim, as a just looking at it from a fighter's perspective, as a young fighter, how do you even manage a situation where, you're being offered an opportunity for a big amount of money, but maybe you really shouldn't be taking that fight? And again, perfect example is I don't want to say he shouldn't be taking the fight because I don't know. But I think most people feel like it's a little too soon for Kid Austin to be fighting Shakur Stevenson, right? But obviously, I'm sure he got offered a good amount of money to take the fight. So how do you balance that when those opportunities are presented to you?
Well, again, it depends on where you are in your career, what you have done in your career. Look, there's no guarantee that Kid Austin wouldn't lose his next fight. If it wasn't Shakur Stevenson, anything can happen inside that sport, inside that ring, anything can happen. I was always taught that, yes, you take the fights for the most money. Shakur Stevenson, the fight happened. He talked himself into it. Whether he's ready or not, we gonna see. However, ultimately, similar to Jared Anderson, he's going to get paid the money, life-changing money for him, at this point in his career. Well, and there's no shame in losing to Shakur Stevenson either. You got to look at that. It'll be a learning experience for him, and he can come back even stronger after fighting Shakur Stevenson. But again, I just worry about the ones that are trying to jump ship, man. Like you're under contract with a certain promoter, man. You shouldn't be trying to jump ship. You shouldn't be trying to ruffle feathers. Like, fulfill your contract. And if you do that, then okay, then go about your business. If that's where you want to go, that's fine. I got a question for you, man. You talked about the whole league and all of that stuff, but I almost feel like certain entities or certain promotional companies who are not trying to get a part of it is trying to get basically pushed out. You know, I don't know what you think about that, but I just feel that like if you don't abide by what's going on, this new movement and what's going on, then we're gonna push you out. You know, like I have a hard time even thinking about like if Top Rank's not involved in boxing. Like think about that. The longest reigning promoter not involved in boxing. You know, that's scary. You know, like to me, I think Top Rank is boxing. You know, and yeah, I'm wearing a Top Rank hat. Yeah, I got Top Rank gear on. You know what I'm saying? I'm advocating for Top Rank. However, I'm advocating for also PBC as well. You know, another American promoter. You know, slash management group. You know, they have some of the best fighters in the world as well, and part of their stable. You know, and if they get pushed out, you know, and then you got Hearns and you got, you know, other entities over there, De La Hoya and so on and so forth, then they kind of monopolize the whole thing. And I that's a little bit bothersome for me, you know, so to speak.
Well, I definitely see the monopoly forming. I mean, that's plain as day. But don't do you think that maybe it's a situation where they really don't have any choice? I mean, like you mentioned earlier when we first started talking, like we don't really know what's going on with ESPN and whether or not they're still going to have boxing. So if Top Rank has to leave there, or even with PBC, I mean, they only put on five or six events last year with Amazon. So if the promoters themselves, if they don't have the money to do business like that anymore, then they kind of got to go where the money's at. And right now, it's obviously with the zone and Riyadh season with the stuff that they're doing over there. So, you know, is it a situation of them getting pushed out, or is it a situation of, you know, them not having the same opportunities here in America because the whole network situation has changed a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything you just mentioned. I think, you know, I think wanting to be your own entity, wanting to produce your own fights, wanting to create your own champions, you know, wanting to create your own business, you know, is now it's a bit different now, especially here in America. With again the quality of the fighters that we're building, the least amount of stars, you know, in the game. Not to say that we don't have great fighters, we do. You know, Terence Crawford is a great fighter. Tank is a great fighter. I mean, there's tons. Shakur's a great fighter. You know, there's a lot of great fighters. It's just again that stardom, that like big, huge. We don't have a lot of those guys here in America. So, but at the same time, to ask you a question about the whole promotional entities and you know the way it looks overall, I can see both sides. I can see that if the zone, for instance, I'm hearing that Top Rank's supposed to be joining forces with the zone. I don't know how true that is. You know, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. You know, but I don't know. You know, the fact that ESPN is supposed to be going to get out of boxing, I don't know. You know, got to wait 6 months. You know, which is scary because we won't be showing fights, man. Like again, it's gonna be just on one area in the zone, if anything. I mean, and then you have PBC who is slowly dying out too because the people that they're affiliated with Amazon, they're not getting any money whatsoever, and they gotta budget these fights themselves. So I don't know, man. It's challenging to really to wrap my head around everything that's going on. But I would say some tough choices going to have to be made here in the near future. Whether you join forces with what's going on with the Riyadh season, or you try to stick it out and do what you do. You know, but I think ultimately, I think we got to find the next star here in America, man. And the way you do that is by showing fights here in America, you know, so people can get grasp of that particular fighter and what he's all about, the skills, personality, so on and so forth.
You think the promoters themselves maybe need to start thinking about boxing long term? I mean, it's very easy when someone comes in and starts throwing money, it's very easy to just roll over and say, okay, let's go over there. But when I talk about, American companies, obviously, like you said, Top Rank, PBC, Golden Boy Promotions, do you think that maybe they need to be doing a better job of working together amongst themselves here in America without the help of Riyadh season coming in and saying, I want this fight, I want that guy, put them together and make them fight? Should they be working a little closer together to help each other produce bigger stars here in America? Because obviously, traditionally, they never work together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the way it should have been, always been. They should have worked together. But I think out of greed and control, they didn't want to work together. And again, when you don't have a big star and you got to split the pot, if any money is being made, because a lot of these promoters they're taking risks. When they're building fighters, they're taking risks. Right out the gate, you have a main event and it's not sold out. You're losing the money. You're not making the money. And then you're having the fighters that are asking for this or asking for that just based upon what they have done in the sport or what they feel they're worth. Then it becomes really difficult too. So, but yeah, I would say it's that. And it's the fact that, promoters didn't want to work together, until it was worth making all that money. But now you got an entity like Riyadh season now that could make the fights happen. And these promoters are lending out these fighters to Riyadh season, which is cool. And they're paying them. However, what does that look like long term? What does that look like in the next few years? That's all I'm worried about, man. I'm not saying that Riyadh season is all bad. No, it's not. I mean, it's been great for the fans. It's been great to see a lot of upsets in boxing, or a guy where you thought that, he was good, but he ended up getting beat by this guy. You know what I mean? And we didn't expect that. So, prime example, Dubois versus Joshua. You know what I'm saying? So, there is still a lot of good, man. I just want to see what the future holds. See if anything changes. See how long Riyadh season is here. See what Top Rank's gonna do within the next 6-7 months. Curious on PBC what they're gonna be doing. Again, a lot of people say all the time, if you can't beat them, what do? You right. Join them, right? You join them. Yeah. If you can't beat them, you join them. So boxing is definitely, I think, is reforming right now. It's going to be interesting to see the next 3 to 4 years where it's going to be headed. But as far as fighting, boxing here in America, man, it's a slowly dying sport, man. And I'm a little nervous about that, man. So.
Well, how important is it for companies like ProBox, like you mentioned, like Red Owl, OTX, Overtime? I mean, it seems like obviously they don't have the same type of names that some of these like Golden Boy and Top Rank and PBC have, but it seems like they are kind of keeping boxing alive in America on the minor league scale, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, if they're producing, fighters, then it makes sense. Mm-hmm. We're looking to produce stars, and it takes time to produce stars. A lot of these guys, they feel that they stars already. They don't get it. They really don't get it.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean by that when you say they don't get it? Because I saw you chuckle.
It's just I'm not gonna call anybody out. I'm just gonna tell you, like, it's a lot of guys that just they're looking at their resume and they're saying, well, I've done this, I've done that, but really can't even sell out an ice cream shop. It's just, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
But how do you know your worth Tim, I'm sure when you were fighting, you felt like, nah, I need to be paid this, I need to be paid that. So how do you know what your worth truly is as a fighter?
When you see that the seats are full, when you see that there's 10,000 seats, not in your hometown, not in your hometown where tickets is $50, 20 cents. That's cute. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
sold out. Okay, you sold out your own. All right, get it. I get it. But when you can go to Vegas, right, and you can sell out there, when you can go anywhere and around the world and you sell out, it doesn't matter where you go. You can be in Idaho, you know what I mean, and you sell out there, you know what I mean, where people where my the people that do my laundry, they do my dry cleaning. I walk in and I say, "Yeah, you getting ready for the such and such fight?" And I say your name, and they, "Oh yeah," and they don't really watch boxing, but they want to watch you, But that's how you know. That's how you know if you've crossed over. That's how you know that you're, a huge seller and you can demand this and demand that. The guy right now that can do that in the sport and is two guys. Well, it's three guys, to be honest with you. It's Canelo Alvarez. I know that. Not unless you go overseas. You got guys like Tyson Fury that can do it, Anthony Joshua, but you do have certain few guys. But here in America, Tank usually sells out wherever he goes. And Jake Paul. He sells out wherever he goes. Different entity, different. I know he's a boxer, quote unquote. However, he was a celebrity first before he did boxing. So his crowd is a little bit different. He brings along the casuals. But yeah, that's it. But it's not a whole lot. I mean, we got a couple of rising stars, potential stars, like the Keyshawn Davis that's starting to make some noise. If he continues to win and dominate, then, he definitely has a chance because he can talk, he can fight. If he's producing knockouts as well, then yeah, he has definitely a chance to be that next guy up. But other than that, it's not too many more that I can see that's gonna be, along those rims that I just mentioned.
That's a scary look.
Oh, you know what? I forgot Abdullah Mason. He looks Abdullah Mason looks sharp, man. He definitely looks really sharp, and I forgot about Abdullah. Now, Shushu, you got guys like that, but Abdullah, those ones that are really looking like they have it all. Yeah, Abdullah, Shushu, really good on the mic as well. So yeah, there's a few guys right there. There's a few guys right there.
They have to figure out a way to really connect with the casual, though. I think that's
the part. Absolutely, and it goes back to their backstory most of the time. And again, it's how what you say, how you say it, and do you have that it factor, But this is interesting because look, they're gonna be fighting, right? They're fighting on ESPN right now. And say, they continue to win. They continue. You got, Valentine's Day. You got Keyshawn Davis. He's going to get ready to fight for his first world championship. It's going to be visible to anybody that has ESPN. Millions and millions of people are going to be watching this thing. But little by little, he's going to start possibly hearing about what's going on over here. Every odd season. You know what I'm saying? He fulfilled his contract. However, the big fights are going to be made over there, right? So let's say a Tank fight, right? Do you think a Tank fight and a Keyshawn fight a year, if Tank stays in the game, a year from now, 2 years from now, do you think that's going to be here on a card between two promoters? Do you think that's going to happen between PBC and Top Rank?
I mean, realistically, no, but I hope so. I hope that's what we're headed to. Realistically, no.
And another question: if the fight happened on Riyadh season card, is it going to be here in America?
Man, that's a tough one too. I mean, I would hope so, but just judging, it sounds like they're going to do the Haney Garcia rematch over there. So,
so the Haney Garcia match is going to be in Riyadh season.
That's what it's. I mean, it's not official yet, right? Because obviously they have fights coming up here in May, and those fights are actually going to be in New York. But from what I've read and what I've been hearing, it sounds like that fight in New York. I think Ryan's fighting Rolly and Devin's fighting Ramirez. From what I'm hearing, that fight in New York is just to set up the rematch in Riyadh. Or I mean, yeah, in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia, for the fight to take place over there. And not just the rematch, but the third fight too. You know, they're talking about making it a trilogy, and both those fights are, you know, are rumored to be over there instead of over here.
Hmm. And I've been hearing some interesting things about that card in New York too.
Oh,
That
really?
they're talking about actually shutting down. That's what I've been hearing. They're talking about shutting down New York, like
Like
the
Times Square
Times Square, like shutting it down and having a ring out there and
and doing
actually
it
go.
outside.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I don't know if I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but
So that would
it's
be a free card, basically.
it sounds like something. I have no idea, but it sounds like something that Riyadh sees it hot. There's no way of competing with that, man. Like, how do you compete with that? Like
Yeah, it's
there's
a free card. You can't. You can't compete
there's
with
no
that.
way. I'm just saying. I don't know if it's a free card or not, but I'm just saying in general. Any promoter in the game, how can you compete with that, man?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to compete against that, man. When you have an endless amount of funds, and again, this is not just coming from the sheik. It's not just coming from him. This is coming from Saudi Arabia, them as a whole. They're providing the money to be able to do these type of things. So again, great, awesome. It's new, but I worry about the longevity of what they're doing. You know, is it going to make boxing better momentarily? But what happens when it's all gone? We gonna see.
And what happens when fighters make so much money that they don't even want to fight anymore? You know, I mean, I could see, you know, Ryan, I don't know how much they would get for that trilogy, but I could see, you know, him and Devin getting a whole bunch of money and saying, you know what, I'm good. I'm retired. I've had enough, pulling out like Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I mean, look, man. Like a lot of these fights again, they're headliners, man. They're headliners. They can headline on their own, and you're gonna give them every single card where you're gonna have top to bottom headlining fights, man. Little by little, it's gonna start to dwindle out real quickly. You know, UFC. That's why I mean, a lot of times you see in a different champion every so many years, which is cool.
Yeah, but
They,
UFC doesn't pay their fighters the way that boxing does.
trust me, and fighters, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. We get spoiled. Fighters, we get spoiled, man, for real. And fighters don't like to go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that they gotta understand. We don't like to go backwards. So if we made 5 million for this guy, you gonna pay me 5 million for this guy? Guess what? This next guy, I want 10.
Mm-hmm.
I want 10 for this next guy. You want me to fight him for 10? You know what I'm saying? We don't go backwards, man.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing, man. Like, look, I appreciate what they doing. However, I'm telling you right now, man, they don't know what they doing, man.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what they doing. They don't know what they creating. They have no clue. And only time will tell how long this will continue, man. But I'm sitting back and I'm gonna watch. I know y'all say I hate. I'm hating. No, I'm not hating. I'm not hating. I just see things from a different lens. It's just always a saying out there when it's too damn good to be true. And it's true when shit is too good. It's like I don't know, man. This is I always worry when shit is just too good. So this right here, for instance, is too good to be true. The fighters out there that's making y'all money and doing y'all thing out there, man. Hey, do your thing. Make your money. However, look, I'm skeptical on a lot of things, and this is one of them. But in the meantime, I will enjoy it just like everybody else. But we will see what happens in the near future. Is this going to continue to stay this way, or is other things going to be implemented over time? If a lot of the things I just mentioned, pension, healthcare, foundation, judging, from the judging to the umbrella to the reffing, the scoring of the fights, all this stuff starts to get better, then shit, I'm all in. But if everything else continues the same and we just get in the fights, then I'm gonna stay on the fence.
Well, Tim, I don't think you're hating. I think you're trying to help. I think you're trying to help the situation out. Hopefully someone reaches out to you because I do think you have great ideas on how to make everything work. Could you imagine? I mean, that would be great to have like some kind of and
A fighter,
NBL.
a
NBL.
fighters association. Think about
Yeah.
that. A fighters association, bro. Fighters association, man, to where you like you make a certain amount of money. Like if you're gonna be making that type of money, bro, like you need to take a meal. Give me a meal. Let me put it in this account for you. You can't see this money until you're this age. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like instead of making 5 million, you're making 4 million. But you're gonna have money when you really need it down the line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I'm taking a little bit of money to put into, all right, let's put into for the drug testing. You know, I want to be, you know, I want boxing to be safe. Like you can implement these little things in the sport. That's going to help the sport, man, in the long run. So that's all. That's all I need to see, man. You know, and if that's happening, then great. If it's not, again, I'm going to enjoy the fights just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So, but again, I'm gonna have my little, I'm gonna be skeptical, I'm gonna be, you know, just chilling in the cut. Oh, okay, all right. So that's just it, man.
Yeah,